If you're feeling bored, don't flip your lid. Just tune us in. You'll be glad you did on Card Sharks. And here's the host of Card Sharks, Jim Perry.
Let that out. And welcome to Card Sharks. Thank you for joining us. And we thank Mrs. Ralph Owens of Lake City, South Carolina for that opening poem. She's watching us on WIS-TV, Channel 10. Thank you, Mrs. Owens. Now let's get to the cards. Janice and Marky, if you will, start loading in the cards and we'll meet our Card Sharks. Risha Golby, our champion.
Hello,
nice to see you again.
Nice to be back one more time.
Oh, you've done so well. And I must say, after the money cards failed you a couple of times, you finally got over the hump, and our champion is $2,100 in cash, right?
Thank you. It's been hard-earned, but I'm delighted to have it.
What did you say after the last show? You're going to spend the money on tranquilizers, right?
No, all on tonic.
Tonic.
I mean, this is a draining experience.
Good to have you back. We're meeting our champion our challenger for the first time. This is George Ontaria. Yes, George, is that it?
Nice meeting you, Jim.
My pleasure. Did I pronounce that right? Ontaria?
Close enough. That's close enough.
Won't you tell us a little about yourself, sir?
All right, my name used to be Luciano Salvador Jorge Untoria Negrete Rojo Pedraza. And now it's George Untoria.
Oh, you cut it, George.
I cut the tail.
Yeah, the Spanish names, and I assume it is Spanish,
Yes,
they just keep adding as you go along, right?
Right, they give you the father, the grandmother, the grandpa, the tío, the abuela, the whole bologna.
What do you do for a living, sir?
Well, I'm a car shark. C-A-R-S.
Aha.
I sell automobiles.
Good. Well, we're delighted to have you here. Now, both of you cut your cards before we went on the air. Then we will start the match. Best 2 out of 3. We start with a question to the champion, Risha. Risha, we polled 100 women who support the women's liberation movement. Now, they all belong to the National Organization for Women. And we asked them, if you were a divorced woman, would you accept alimony from your former husband? How many feminists said yes, they would accept alimony?
There's a qualification here, and that is I wonder if there's children involved. So I'm sort of divided on my opinions. I've got to say 60 would still accept alimony.
60 feminists will accept alimony, George.
You, Jim. I know. Alimony means it's just for them, for the woman himself. So it doesn't have nothing to do with child support. And a woman, if they can get you or burn you, they will. So it's gotta be higher, man. Higher.
You know, he started out so mild about that. Like, it's not for the children, it's just for themselves, and that's who they're going to get it for. So he says higher. George, if it is higher, you'll play your cards first. If not, Risha plays hers. The actual number of feminists who would accept alimony is 56, not higher. Risha. But more than half. Interesting for feminists. Risha starts the match with a 3.
Wonderful card. Higher, Jim.
Higher than a 3. An 8.
Let's freeze right there.
And we move over the freeze bar, protecting that position. That, of course, keeps George away from his cards. George, your first question. George, we asked 100 third-grade kids, do grown-ups kiss too much? How many third graders said, yeah, grown-ups do kiss too much?
Well, I got few kids. I got 8. And they complain.
Well, if you rattle off all of their names, George, we'd be here forever.
Okay, I will say it's got to be about 20.
George says 20 of the third graders said, yeah, grown-ups kiss too much.
Definitely higher. They think kissing is mushy.
So you say higher.
Higher.
The actual number of third graders who said grown-ups do kiss too much is 61. Very much higher. Risha.
Please change the 8.
Risha, you've got an 8.
I'd like to change it. Please.
Winning the question, you can change the base card. A 5.
A little better, and I'll go higher.
Higher than a 5. A 10.
Yes. I'm going to freeze again.
And we move over the freeze. George, I got the feeling for a moment there you thought you won that question.
I did.
I have the feeling you did, too.
You almost convinced us all. That's a good way to play the game.
Let's
it's
do it
fine.
again.
Risha, the question to you. Risha, we asked 100 senior citizens. Do you think the world will destroy itself before your grandchildren get to be your age? How many senior citizens thought the world will destroy itself?
It's a terrifying thought, but I think a lot of senior citizens are terrified at the way the world is going. I think it's going to be quite a high number of them. 70.
70 out of 100.
Well, Jim, I know the experience of Fidelito Castro, The old people might think, oh, I shouldn't say the old people. The old folks, they might think that...
That helps it, George.
that the world's going to be destroyed before their grandchildren. But I said it's got to be a little lower. Just a teeny bit lower. Yeah, it's got to be lower.
The actual number of senior citizens who think the world will destroy itself is 25. Very much lower. George.
Burn him.
Now he's ready. And he starts with an
All
ace.
right. It's got to be lower.
Lower than the ace. Yes, a king.
Oh, let's go lower, Jim.
Lower
Burn
again.
him.
Another ace. It came up for the wrong time, and Risha gives you a chance to play off the 10.
I see no face cards, and I'm going to go higher.
Way against the odds. Is she right? Higher. She is.
But I get my old friend again, but still, lower.
If this is lower, Risha has the first game of the match for the win. No! And a king fails Risha again. Janice will fill in the spaces with the next cards off the top of the deck. And, George, you know, you jumped up and down when the ace came up after the king. I thought you had won that, too.
I'm trying.
Sudden death. Someone has to win with this play of the cards. George, the question goes to you. George, we asked 100 married men. Have you ever gotten into an argument with your wife because she didn't laugh at one of your jokes?
Oh, plenty.
How many married men said they have?
Well, I've been there. I tell a lot of jokes, she never laugh.
Did it cause an argument?
Yes, right. I'm gonna split it in the middle. I'm not so sure, so let's make it 50.
George says right up the middle. 50 out of 100 said they've gotten in a fight because the wife didn't laugh at one of the jokes.
I think there might be a moment where the fella's hurt, but I don't believe it could cause an argument. I believe it will be fewer. Lower.
Lower.
Yes.
This decides control of that board, and someone's going to have a long way to go, so let's see how it comes out. The actual number of married men who have argued with their wife because she didn't laugh at their jokes is 24. Risha's right, it is lower. Risha, it is sudden death. You have a 10. You need 2 cards. George has a great base card, an ace, but he needs 4 cards. Do you want to play it or pass it?
He's such a lovely man, and I wish him the best of buena suerte. But please, Jorge, it's your turn.
It's your turn.
Right.
George, if you can turn all 4 cards over, you win the game. But one mistake, it belongs to Risha with an ace.
Gotta be
What's
lower,
this?
Jim. It's gotta be lower.
Lower than the ace. He's right
All
with the first
right,
one.
let's get him lower, Jim.
Lower than the queen.
Oh, no!
No! And Risha wins game 1 in sudden death. You know, I just figured it out. George jumps up and down whether he wins or loses. Now I got it. We'll play game 2 in a moment right after this commercial break. Game 1 went to the champion, $100. Janice is dealing out with the same 2 decks of cards for game 2. And we'll start game 2 with a question to you, Risha. Risha, we found 100 engaged men. These are all men who plan to be married within the next 6 months. And we asked them, does your best man know something about your romantic past that your bride-to-be doesn't? How many engaged men said, yeah, their best man does know something their bride-to-be doesn't?
Oh, gosh, everyone's got little secrets, especially, you know, if he knows something about his dating past. I would think it would be very high, 70.
70 out of 100 said, yeah.
No way, Jim. No way. No way. If a man has a friend and he got a little secret, he's not going to tell his friend if it's that kind of a secret. So it's got to be lower.
You say
it's
lower?
It's got to be lower.
Man keeps those things secrets,
You
says
got
George.
that right.
Means George is a nice man to know, Risha. Yeah, the actual number of engaged men whose best man knows something about their romantic past their bride-to-be doesn't is 49. George is right. It is lower.
Right.
George needs this game, and he starts with a 6.
Oh. Change it. Change it.
Winning the question, you can change it. A 2.
All right, now. It's got to be higher, Jim.
Higher than the 2.
Higher.
No. Another 2. This time he didn't jump. Risha, a chance at a queen.
Wonderful joke. Lower.
Lower than a queen, a jack.
Oh, I do hate those, but lower.
Risking it lower. No. And the cards fail the champion as well. Question 2 to you, George, and the cards are really jumping.
Amen.
George, now, I love this question. Scientists in China claim that they can forecast earthquakes by studying toads and crickets. That's a fact. So we asked 100 people, would you approve of the United States government spending $10 million to develop a toad watching program? How many people said yes, they would approve?
Well, I won't spend a dime on that program. It's got to be a low figure. It's got to be about 15.
15. would like to have the toads of cricket studied.
Once again, he's dealt me such a difficult number to deal with, but I've been in several major earthquakes, including the big one in Guatemala. I'd invest my money. However, the average person wouldn't, but still a little higher.
A little higher. Another government program, you say higher. The actual number of people who would approve of the United States spending $10 million on a toad watching program is 8. It is not higher, it's lower. George, get control. You know, sorry. It just occurred to me that I hope they're not watching. If we gave them ideas and there goes the tax dollars. George, you've got a 2.
Well, it's got to be higher, Jim.
Higher than a 2?
Got to be.
This time it is.
All right. May I, Senor Jim, freeze?
Freezing it. And George takes a 1-card advantage to try to change his luck around a little bit. Risha, we surveyed 100 prison inmates. These are all men who are currently serving time in San Quentin prison. And we asked the inmates, do you think handguns should be banned for private citizens? How many inmates said handguns should be banned?
Fascinating question, considering most of them are there because of handguns. I would think a lot of them think for private, for just general public use. Quite a high number of them would say no.
How many say they should be banned?
55.
55 out of 100 say handguns should be banned.
If they're in if they're in jail and they want to look good for the time out, so they're just going to fake that anyway. It's got to be lower. They are not going to be honest.
Well, our polls...
They're not there for being honest.
I will add to that, George, that our polls are always confidential. You realize that, of course.
Right.
But you say lower? Okay. The actual number of inmates who said handguns should be banned is 10. He's right. It is lower.
Do it again.
George with a 10.
Card, Jim.
Getting rid of the 10. A 3.
Right. It's got to be higher.
Higher than a 3. A 5.
Freeze.
And George freezes again.
Freeze.
Surprised me on that one.
Freeze.
But he's looking over here, and he may be right, because, again, it is sudden death. And with George needing 2 cards, Risha needing 4, the question goes to you, George. And we found 100 women, George, who have had their nose fixed. And we asked them, now tell the truth, are you vain? How many women who've had their nose fixed admitted that they are vain?
Well, that's a hard one. Oh, I don't have no reason. I don't know. I never had my nose fixed. I think I'm going to take a fair figure, 25.
25 out of 100 admitted they are vain.
I really don't believe that in our day and age it is a sin to be vain anymore. It will be higher.
Higher. The actual number of women who admitted they're vain is 60. She's right. It is higher. Now, Risha, you are faced with an interesting problem in sudden death because you need 4 cards with a queen. George with a 5 needs just 2. What are you going to do?
It's a terrible situation. I'm still going to pass to George.
You're going to pass it. George with a 5. If you could turn these 2
Risha.
cards over, you are the new champion. But if you make one mistake, we've got a tie.
Gotta be higher, Jim.
Higher than the 5. It is the jack.
All right, it's gotta be lower.
For the championship, lower. No, it's not lower. She is the champ. Thank you, George. George Antonia, thank you. Be careful. Risha, come on down here with me. And we'll get set for the money cards right after this commercial break. Back with a fine champion, Risha Goldby. You cut the money cards?
Yes, I did, Jim.
Let's get to those money cards. Come on, Risha. Hop one up there. And Janice and Marky, if you will, start loading in the money cards. As Risha, you know, we give you $200 of new money on the bottom line, 3 cards to bet. Move up to the second level. We'll add another $200 of betting money and 3 more cards. Minimum bet's $50 till you get to the top card. The big bet, there you must risk at least half the money. We're rolling now. Let's see if we can take away a bundle,
You bet.
Risha.
I'm all
Here's
ready. It's
$200.
time. Go.
And remember, you can change that base card on each of the 3 levels if you need to. Risha, $200. And a queen.
A queen, very good card. All of it lower, please.
Whole thing, $200 that this card is lower than the queen. No.
Okay.
That's a tough bust because it costs you these other cards, but you're not out of it. The other $200 of betting money, we're going to give it to you as we move the queen up. 4 cards to go. You can build it back up.
I guess I'll go conservative. $100 lower.
$100 lower than a queen. Yes, a 9 for $300.
Ridiculously conservative, $50 lower.
$50 that this card is lower. It is with a 7.
Another $50 higher this time.
$50 higher than a 7. No. Down to 300. We're moving up to 6. Do you
Please
want
change
that?
the 6.
All right, come on. Let's get a good card. Oh, a 9. Risha, you've got $300. You have to bet at least $150. You're looking at a 9. What do you say?
I'm surveying the situation here. I'll go half of it lower.
Half of it lower. Come on. For $150,
watch.
be there. Lower than a 9. No. Doggone it. But you inch along, Risha. That $150 with 200 in the game, that's $350 for another game of Card Sharks. You only have the one good money cards, but you keep winning. And inching along, you're up to $2,450.
It pays to inch, I guess.
Risha will meet a new challenger right after this commercial break. I can't believe your luck up there. You're so good here, and you get so bad luck over there. Okay, Risha, Janice is dealing out 2 brand new decks of cards. Time to meet a new challenger on Card Sharks. Estina Baker. Hi, Estina.
Fine, thank you.
Could you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, my name is Estina Baker. I'm an acting student at Howard University in Washington, D.C. I'm originally from New York, and I'm out here for the summer to perform on UCLA's campus Summer Theater Workshop.
Well, that's great.
Thank you.
You're originally from New York, huh?
Can you tell?
I never would have. What are you doing? Are you performing in a play at the...
Yes, luckily we have 3 shows that you can be casted for, and I was casted for 2 of the 3.
Well, good.
So I'm excited.
Well, you're obviously a very talented lady. I hope you're going to play well here with us. Hope you have a good time. You cut your cards?
Yes, I did.
And here we go. Best 2 out of 3 starts with a question to the champion. Risha, we asked 100 people. With the gas shortage, do you think politicians should have to drive compact cars instead of limousines? How many people said yes, politicians should have to drive compact cars?
This has to be almost unanimous, especially when fevers are running hot on this subject right now. It will be... How many think they should drive compacts?
How many say they should drive compacts?
95.
95 out of 100. What do you think, Estina?
Well, that makes it kind of tight for me, but I know that being in Washington, I know that people in political office can fill their cars up for like 60 cents, so a gallon for gas. So I think maybe just a teensy bit lower. She said 95?
She said 95.
I'm going to go just a teensy bit lower.
A little bit lower.
Just a little bit.
They can fill up for 60 cents?
Well, for 60 cents a gallon, they have a special station that they can go and get gas when everyone else waits in line.
Aren't we glad to hear that, friends, about our elected officials, indeed. Well, you say lower, Estina. The actual number of people who said politicians should have to drive compact cars is 81. It is lower. And, Estina, after what you just told us, I have a feeling the number would be a lot higher if we pulled it again. Estina, you start off with a 6.
Change that card.
Winning the question, 6 becomes a king.
Lower. I have to
Lower
go
than
lower.
a king, a 9.
I'm going to freeze. I'm going to freeze.
And with a 1-card advantage, we move over the freeze bar. Estina. Estina, our man on the street, went to a nudist camp where he asked 100 men, should total nudity be permitted on television during family viewing hours? How many men nudists think total nudity should be permitted during the early evening hours?
Even though those people might have been in a nudist camp or whatever, I still think that's what they do in their private life is separate. But I think in terms of the entire country, I think it's going to be lower than most people would expect. I'm going to go with 32.
32 nudists said nudity should be allowed in the early evening.
She's given me another toughie, but I know a few nudists, and they don't really expand their ideas to the general public. I think it might even be a little lower.
Lower than that. The actual number of men nudists who think total nudity should be permitted on television during family viewing hours is 71. Not lower. They're expanding their ideas a lot more than you thought, Risha. And Estina can get rid of the 9. A queen.
Okay, I'll go lower. I'll go lower.
Queen, a 10.
I'm going to freeze. I'm not taking any chances.
And now Estina needs just 2 cards for the first game of the match, and we'll be right back with these fine players right after this. 71. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Our players will be back to finish the match on our next Card Sharks. I do hope you'll be back here with us. 60 cents a gallon, huh? I'm going to go home and write my congressman. See you next time. Bye-bye.
16 champions are training for the toughest game show competition of them all. Watch Ken Jennings and the biggest winners in game show history go head-to-head.
What is 2.4 times what Shakespeare play has this name the capital of Indonesia?
And face-to-face.
Xenophobia, habeas corpus.
In the smartest show on earth.
Toe-to-toe, head-to-head, brain-to-brain. It is the toughest competition on TV.
Grand Slam, hosted by Dennis Miller and Amanda Byram. Premieres Saturday, August 4th, 7 p.m., 6 Central, only on GSN.